Hello everybody. I just wanted to make a quick video because there's something that was on my mind. I'm trying out a new microphone today. It has some weird kind of discoloration on it and I don't know why. I've only used this microphone approximately 0 times in the past. It's just been sitting in a drawer, but I thought maybe this would be a good tool to use for these videos. I did have to add a lot of volume to the microphone in OBS, and I'm going to have to figure something out with maybe a reverb setting or figure out how to do that because it sounds very dull, but I'll work on it. So my thought today was, why don't I just downgrade to a dumb phone? I have a cell phone service provider that's the second provider I've ever used for cell phone service, and the reception is not very good in many places. The first provider that I used, that I switched over from, had better reception, but for a variety of reasons, just personal life circumstance kind of reasons, I switched providers, and the reception has not been as good. Dealing with the company and the customer service has not been as good, and I am tired of being so distracted and addicted to my smartphone. And I thought, well, if I did get a dumb phone and switched back to the provider that has better service, better reception, what would I really be missing out on my smartphone? If I could still use the features on the smartphone offline, because my iPhone still works, am I going to miss out on that much because it can't connect to the internet? If I had a dumb phone, I could still make calls and text messages. What does this thing actually need to connect to the internet for besides making me addicted to streaming YouTube videos and other stupid stuff, pointless wastes of time? I would still be able to use all these features if I was near Wi-Fi and I had an internet connection. When do I really need to be connected to the internet when there isn't Wi-Fi nearby? The most prescient need that I can think of is that I use the GPS function to figure out where I'm going to go and where I'm going on trips, and I drive a lot. Maybe I just buy a GPS unit to put in my car, and then that problem is solved forever, and I don't need a smartphone. I mean, is that it? Just going through the things that I generally use my smartphone for, okay? I use it to read the Bible, but I'm pretty sure I can download a version and read it offline. Or I could just take a Bible with me, for crying out loud, right? I use it to keep track of my calendar. Well, there was a day that I used a paper and pencil calendar, and that's how I organized everything. My use of the calendar, I use Google Calendar, has become so complicated that I don't know if it would be that simple to just switch over to paper and pencil again. But I could still use the Google Calendar offline and then just sync whenever I get home or get to a Wi-Fi location, which is almost everywhere you go nowadays. It would still download the information and tell me, like, when I'm busy, when I'm out talking to people. And really, I don't know that I needed to sync to the internet in the first place if I'm the only one who's going to use the calendar. I suppose there's a couple other people that look at some of the calendars, but I don't think I'm going to be missing out on much if this isn't constantly connected to the internet. Sometimes I do use my phone when I'm at a gig to check on the weather because I want to know if it's going to rain or if there's a likelihood of storms. I like to look at the radar. I could also look at the sky, you know. There's if you just look at the sky, usually you get 98% accurate weather forecasts just by using your eyeballs. There have been times where the weather does something really unexpected between when we start playing and when we stop playing. Like, it didn't look like it was going to rain, but it did. Then I kind of knew about that ahead of time because I had my phone, but either way, what I do about it is going to be the same, which is try and pack my equipment into somewhere that's protected from the rain. usually it's not going to change whether or not I'm showing up for the gig. I wouldn't be able to browse the internet when I'm out and about unless I had Wi-Fi. Um, how often do I have something that I have to look up on the internet, and like a question I really need the answer to right now when I'm not near an internet connection? I don't know. I use it to check my bank balance, but I could do that on my computer. Um, really, the biggest thing I can think of that I needed to be connected to the internet for, I can check my email wherever I am. But that's kind of annoying. I'd rather only check my email when I'm by my computer. That would be nice to not have that bugging me constantly. I don't use social media. The only thing I can really think of is that I use the voice memos feature in my songwriting, and it's nice to be able to record something on my phone and hit a button and upload it to Google Drive to have it in the cloud somewhere where everything can be organized, and it's been a good way of helping me get everything organized right away. Um, but I do have like a voice recorder device that I could just take with me, and I could just use that, and I could just plop the files onto my computer and upload it to the cloud every so often at the end of the day, once a week, or what have you. I don't know what would work for me. Um, I guess that's one more step in my life. So I would pay like for the convenience by downgrading. I would I would pay for the loss of convenience in that way, that I would have to move files from an SD card onto my computer. But how long does that really take? And I'm not going to have the addiction of constantly browsing things on the internet and streaming YouTube videos and doing all of this stuff on my phone. My phone could still be plenty distracting even if it weren't connected to the internet. That's really the only reason that I have a smartphone, is so that I can connect to the internet, and I don't need it to do that. I mean, the calculator would still work, the alarm clock would still work, the compass would still work. I would still be able to connect to a local network when I'm at a gig, to connect to the soundboard to control my mix. Uh, I don't know if the games would still work actually, but I don't care, because that's just a distraction and not an important part of my life. I mean, what do I actually need a smartphone for? I don't know. I'm looking at this. As far as I can tell, I think the only reason I really need it to be set up the way it is because it has a GPS on it. So I'm going to look into maybe downgrading, because I feel like it would be cheaper. I mean, how much time do I actually spend talking on the phone and sending text messages? Well, I guess it's a lot. But, I mean, there's got to be a phone plan that isn't unlimited that would cover my needs for this. That's a lot cheaper, right? And if I downgraded my phone, I would be a lot less distracted and more present in my life. And I think that would be a good thing. Stop living in a fantasy world and just focus on the reality around you. I'd probably have to buy a GPS unit. I'd have to pay for the phone up front, the dumb phone. But I would imagine that's not going to be that expensive. You can probably get a fairly sophisticated dumb phone for not that much money. I mean, this iPhone I had to pay off over several months because they cost, $7, $8, $1,200 or something like that, depending on what you get. So that's an experiment I might be running in my life, and I thought you might be interested in that thought process. I know there's a lot of people who made videos online saying, I tried downgrading to a dumb phone to see what it's like, or why you should too, and that kind of thing. But maybe it gives you some food for thought, and I hope that this was interesting to you in some way.